In this video you will learn what is project scope management, what is the importance of project scope management, what is scope creep, project management scope statement, process for managing project scope management and its importance. The ideal scenario for every project manager is for the project to run smoothly from start to finish with no delays or budget overruns. However, in practice, this is seldom the case. Even when you plan and discuss all of the specifics in advance with all of the project stakeholders, something will always modify the project scope throughout its course. Scope creep, which affects 52% of projects, is a major worry for project managers. By controlling the project scope, you can record everything needed to fulfill the project objective while avoiding concerns such as scope creep. What is the definition of project scope management? As a component of the planning stage, project scope management assists in identifying and recording a list of all project objectives, tasks, budgets, deliverables, and deadlines. It is normal in project management for a large project to undergo changes as it progresses. With the scope of the project set from the start, it is much simpler for project team members to manage and execute the necessary changes. The significance of project scope management. One of the most difficult duties for a project manager is balancing the expectations of stakeholders and customers. Managers can simply keep on track and guarantee that all deadlines are met throughout the project with a defined project scope. A clearly defined project scope management prevents typical problems such as evolving requirements, changing the project's direction when it is already in progress, recognizing that the final result did not meet expectations, exceeding the budget that was established, failure to meet project timelines. Good project scope management provides a clear picture of the project's time, effort, and cost. It aids in distinguishing between what is required and what is not required for the project's completion. In project management, the scope also creates the project's control aspects to handle variables that may change over the life cycle of the project. What is the definition of project scope? Project scope is a procedure that describes precise objectives, deliverables, budgets, and features as a component of the planning process. The scope document outlines the actions required to complete the project successfully. Identifying the project needs and the customer's expectations helps establish the scope. The scope statement often includes project goals, project deliverables, exclusions, project limitations, assumptions about the project. What is the definition of scope creep? Scope creep happens when your project's original scope statement is exceeded. Scope creep could occur, for instance, if a stakeholder proposes an extra project objective after the start of the project. Unforeseen changes may raise project risks, such as missed deadlines, higher expenses, overwork, or a poor quality final result. Scope creep may happen for a variety of reasons. Among the causes are vague project scope, unrealistic project goals, having numerous stakeholders, inadequate scope management. To prevent scope creep, you must prepare for it. This is where a solid scope management strategy comes in. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. On my website, projectmanagerik.com, you can get the free templates for your project management needs as well as training based on my 544-page book Project Management for Managers, Program and Project Portfolio Management in Banking. Please see the details below in the description. Project Management Scope Statement. The scope statement of a project is also known as the scope document and sometimes as the statement of work. The scope statement includes the following: outlines all project limits while also creating team roles, defines the processes that must be followed for checking and certifying the final work, provides team members with a definite framework for making decisions related to the project. Stakeholders and team members must be as detailed as possible when documenting the project scope to minimize scope creep, a scenario in which certain components of the project wind up needing more effort and time than originally agreed owing to misunderstanding or inadequate planning. With excellent project management, teams can guarantee that the project is completed on time, that a comprehensive project communication strategy is implemented, and that the end product meets the original specifications. Process for managing project scope. Let's go through the 6 stages that go into correctly defining project scope management. Scope management planning. The first step in project scope management is to establish a document that contains a scope plan, which you may refer to later on. The document primarily aids in the definition, management, validation, and control of the project scope. It includes the following: project scope statement in detail, all of the project requirements broken down, project deliverables anticipated, process for controlling project changes. The document does not need to be too comprehensive, it simply needs to serve its goal. You may also refer to a prior scope management strategy for this. A change control procedure, which is a mechanism for change demands that might avoid scope creep, may be included in the scope plan. This document may be required for complicated projects where you believe stakeholders may desire several deliverables or when your deliverables can take many forms. Guidelines for developing a scope plan. In order to build the scope plan document, you must evaluate all aspects of the organizational process. Verify with executive and cross-functional stakeholders to make sure you possess all of the necessary information. Hold launch meetings for the scope. Ensure you get buy-in from everyone before you seal your scope document. Asynchronously distribute your scope plan or arrange a kickoff conference so that other project managers and members of the team may add to the first scope statement. Gathering requirements. The next phase is to determine the needs and expectations of stakeholders. Via interviews, questionnaires, and focus groups, you will be expected to record all project needs, budgets, expectations, and deliverables. This is a crucial stage because stakeholders sometimes have unreasonable criteria or expectations, and project managers must seek a solution which is agreeable to everyone while preventing delay in the project. At the completion of the requirements gathering step, you must have these: both functional and non-functional criteria, stakeholder expectations, business necessities, required training and support, requirements of the project, specifying the scope. At this point, you must translate the requirements into a clear description of the product or service that you want to offer via the project. This way, you have a project scope statement which you may refer to during the duration of your project. While it is vital to mention what is inside the project scope, it is as critical to indicate what is outside of it. Any changes to the scope must then go through the complete change control procedure to guarantee that the team works on only what they are intended to work on. A specified scope provides the project team and anybody else engaged with a starting point. If something is not included in the scope, it doesn't have to be finished by the team. Creating a project breakdown structure. This is a document which divides and simplifies all of the work that must be completed in the project and afterwards distributes all of the jobs to team members. It outlines the deliverables that must be fulfilled as well as their associated timeframes. For this part of the process, you may utilize project management software to allocate and prioritize project activities, making it simpler to monitor the project's overall progress and minimize any unneeded bottlenecks. Here are some tips to make a breakdown structure. Disintegrate your project goal. A work breakdown structure divides your project goal into dependencies as well as sub-dependencies. Work packages are typically used to refer to these smaller sets of jobs. Once you've broken down your duties, you'll have a clear picture of everything your project requires, including the time, gear, tools, and expenditures. Workflow automation. Automating team member procedures may help to improve project collaboration and visibility. Employing software to automate such operations will also eliminate human data collection and duplication. Validation of scope. The scope and outputs you documented must be delivered to stakeholders and project executives at this stage to get the appropriate approvals. Before beginning the project, scope validation should be performed to guarantee that if anything bad happens, it is straightforward to determine what went wrong. Since validation is the ultimate sign-off when it comes to the scope management strategy, you should properly analyze and check it. Team members may assist you in inspecting the plan before distributing it to stakeholders. However, stakeholders must also inspect it one last time to ensure that the plan is reviewed by as many people as possible. Scope control. Scope control is the last phase of the scope management strategy. Monitor the progress of your project and manage modifications to the scope as it moves towards the execution stage. Using project management software is the most efficient technique to simplify scope control. These technologies may provide comments, data, and project progress updates in real time, keeping you informed of any changes in scope. Project managers must guarantee that the project remains within its stated scope from the start. If certain items must be changed, the right change control procedure must be followed. Tips for controlling the scope. Assess variance. In this section of the scope management strategy, determine how much scope variance occurs. Analyzing your scope's actual versus projected performance can provide you with knowledge for future projects. Use the change control document. In the beginning, at the planning stage, you established a change control mechanism. Keep in mind to use this document as a reference to monitor the information flow as project changes occur. Click on the video card on the right to understand team roles and responsibilities. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. On my website, projectmanagerik.com, you can get the free templates for your project management needs as well as training based on my 544-page book Project Management for Managers. Program and project portfolio management in banking translated into 12 languages and counting. Please see the details below in the description and where to buy my book and what is the best program and project management software.